Welcome to the demonstration for installing and using Enterprise Vault reporting. This demonstration reinforces the concepts covered in Lesson 16 of the Enterprise Vault 10 for Exchange Administration course. In this demonstration, we will examine the other tools that administrators can use to monitor the Enterprise Vault systems. In particular, we will install and configure Enterprise Vault reporting, which provides system reports for trend analysis. We're starting off on the domain controller with the Active Directory users and computers open, and one of the prerequisites for setting up reporting is to create a report user. So you can see here we've created a report user, EV report user. I'm going to look at the properties of the EV report user, so I can select properties here, and we're interested in going to the account tab to see the account information, and we can see that we have created the logon EV report user and that the password never expires. Those are the requirements for the EV report user account, and that the account itself never expires. So we've got those set up. So I go ahead and click OK here to close the dialog box, and we'll go ahead and minimize the Active Directory users and computers Microsoft Management Console. Now we're ready to log on as the Enterprise Vault server because we're installing the Enterprise Vault reporting components, and we need to be able to do that. And at this point, I just want to discuss real quick that in our demonstration, we have the SQL server running on our domain controller. That's not recommended in a production environment. And also, we're installing the reporting services on that SQL server that is on the domain controller. So again, that is not recommended in a production environment. It's just for the demonstration purposes here. So we're going to log off as the administrator of our domain and log back on as the Enterprise Vault service account. So I'll click my Start button, select Log Off. And we are using virtual machines here, so I'll come up to my virtual machine environment and send the Control-Alt-Delete. And we need to switch users to another user. And we'll type in the account for our service account, which is EV_service. Type in the service account password, and then click our login button. And now we're logged on to the SQL server where we wish to install the reporting services. And again, that's the big thing here, is that typically you're going to have a SQL server that will be running the reporting services. And it doesn't have to be the same SQL server that hosts all the other Enterprise Vault databases. But in our example, that SQL server just happens to be on a domain controller, which again is not recommended for a production environment. So we'll come on down and navigate to the location of our installation media. So I'll go ahead and open up the Windows Explorer, select my computer here, and we're doing it from the CD drive, so we'll open up the CD drive. It'll be in the Enterprise Vault 10 folder, and then it'll be in the server folder, and it will be the setup application. So we'll go ahead and open that and start that up. So this is the same program we'd run when we installed the Enterprise Vault components. So it gets the initialization started up here, prepares for the installation, and then we get our welcome to the installation dialog box. So we'll go ahead and click Next. We'll read through our license agreement and accept that by clicking Yes. And we do not need to run the deployment scanner here. We've already checked the prerequisites, but if you wish to, you could run it here. I'll go ahead and click Next. And we are going to change the installation directory. We don't want it to be on the system directory. So I'll click my Browse button and change the installation drive letter from the C drive to the D drive. I can then go ahead and click OK. And we'll go ahead and click Next. And what we want to do is only install the Enterprise Vault reporting component here on the SQL server. So we'll remove the mark for the Enterprise Vault services. We'll remove the mark for the administration console. And then we will place a mark in front of the Enterprise Vault reporting. And then we can click Next. We get the warning about the fact that we're going to be starting and restarting stopping and restarting some of the services. So we'll go ahead and click Next. And then it actually does that, and you see the little pop-ups about it stopping the service, but it went by so quick I didn't catch it here for the demonstration. But then it comes back and tells us that it's ready to install some components, so we'll click Install. And again, we get our progress bar telling us that the installation is occurring. And once everything is done, we will get to the Installation Complete dialog box. We don't need to show the configuration information, so we'll uncheck that. And then we'll go ahead and click Finish. And now we have the Enterprise Vault reporting components installed on the SQL Server. So I'll go ahead and minimize the Windows Explorer. And to complete the installation, we have to do a configuration of the Enterprise Vault reporting services. So I'll come down here to my Start and go to All Programs, expand the Enterprise Vault program group, and select the Enterprise Vault Reports configuration. And that starts up the Enterprise Vault Reporting Configuration Wizard, and we have to give it some information. So we want to specify our domain, and in this demonstration, the domain name is example. As we saw earlier in the demonstration, our user is going to be EV Report User, and we type in the password for that user. And here's where you would specify the SQL Server reporting instance, which happens to be MS SQL Server here, your language, and where the Enterprise Vault directory database is located. So in this case here, they happen to be on the same SQL Server. So I'll go ahead and click Configure. And you'll see here that it gives us a status of how the configuration is progressing across the bottom of the dialog box. So here I've got another update about it installing binaries. And the actual installation started up. And it says it's registering components, and then we get a pop-up that says we need to restart the Internet Information Services, or IIS. So we'll go ahead and click OK to start that up. And now we're registering some assemblies. And then we get another pop-up that says it needs to restart the SQL Server reporting services. So we'll go ahead and click OK here. And we're continuing on with the registration process, creating our root folder. And again, I didn't catch all the different updates that you might see as you were going through, but just wanted to show you some of the different status updates that you get across the bottom of the reporting configuration wizard here as it's working its way through to completion. And now it says that the reporting services has been configured, but it's giving us a warning here. There are a few warnings and or errors. And we know, again, from practice at this particular point in time, the reason why we're getting this warning is because we haven't set up an auditing database. So it recognizes that auditing isn't set up, and there are certain reports that need auditing in order for those reports to provide you with data. And then also, we're not doing file system archiving, so we haven't set up the file system reporting, and that's why we're getting these warnings here. So there's nothing that's going to prevent it from providing us the information that we need from reporting. So we'll go ahead and click OK. So at this point, what we're ready to do is to go ahead and check the configuration changes that were made to the SQL Server environment. So we need to start up the SQL Server Management Studio. So we'll go ahead and click Start. We'll go to our All Programs. We'll expand our Microsoft SQL Server 2008 R2 program group, and we'll select the SQL Server Management Studio. From the Connect dialog box, we want to connect to the database engine, and the instance is on DC SQL, and we'll use the Windows authentication. So we go ahead and click our Connect button. And the first thing we want to look at is to verify that that user that we had created, EV Report User, does in fact have a login into the SQL Server environment. So we'll come up here and expand our security node, and we'll select our logins. And we can see that we have the example EV Report User is listed under the list of available logins into SQL Server. The next thing that we want to do is to verify that this report user is listed as a user in our Enterprise Vault databases. So we'll come up here and expand databases, and then we'll select the Enterprise Vault directory database and expand that. Then we'll come down to our security section, expand security, And then if we expand our users, we can see that we do in fact have the example EV report user has been added as a user to the Enterprise Vault Directory database. Now we could go through and look at each of the individual databases to verify that, but I've already done that, so it does in fact show up in all the other databases. So the next thing that we want to look at to verify has been correctly configured is that there's been a new role added to the SQL Server databases for Enterprise Vault, that role being the EV reporting role. So to see that, we'll expand our roles node here. We'll expand our database roles. And we'll see that there is a role called EV reporting role. So it has been listed or added as one of the roles in the database. So we'll look at the properties and verify that our EV report user is a member or has been assigned this particular role. So we'll go ahead and open up the properties dialog box. So we'll click properties here. And we can see that we have the example /EV report user, which is our user, and that they have in fact been assigned the EV reporting role. So they have the correct role on the database. And again, this has actually been performed for all of the Enterprise Vault databases. We're just showing you for the demonstration purposes just the one database installation. So I go ahead and click OK to close that. And then we'll go ahead and minimize our SQL Server Management Studio. And now we're ready to go and look at some of the reports that are available. So I'll go ahead and open up Internet Explorer here, click Start, select Internet Explorer. And then we have to type in the address to see the reports, which is going to be http:// and then the name where the reporting services have been installed. So in our case, that's DC SQL, and then our reports management folder, which is just reports. So we type that in. We can see it takes a moment or two to connect. And then once it's connected, we can see now the typical SQL Server reporting services web interface. And we have a folder listed there for the Enterprise Vault, Symantec Enterprise Vault reports. So if we click on that folder, it opens up, and because we had selected English as our language when we installed the reports, we have the ENUS as a subfolder here. So I go ahead and click that folder. Then I have two groups of reports, the data analysis reports and the operation reports. For our demonstration, we'll look at some of the operation reports. So go ahead and expand that. And here you can see a listing of the various operation reports that are available. And again, we're not going to look at all of them here. We'll just select one or two to look at. So the first one we'll look at is the items archival rate. So I'll select that one. And this one here you can see is an example of a report that allows you to configure the exact data that you're going to be seeing in that particular report. So the first thing that's configurable is the site name. And our site name is EV Site 1, so that's been picked up. The next is the Vault store that you want to look at. And in our particular example, we do want to look at all the Vault stores. So we need to select our interval. So we'll change that to yearly. Then we need to select our start year. And we select 1999. And the reason why we selected that is that was the first year that we had anything archived. If we open this up, it would actually list all the years of which items have been archived. Then we can select the start month. So we'll select January. The start day will be the 1st. And then for our end year, in the example here, it's going to be 2011. And for the end month is July. That's the last time that we have anything archived. And for our end date, we will select the 7th of July, because again, that's the last date that we have anything archived to see information. Once we got our items configured, we can then click the View Report button. And it takes it a moment or two to collect all the data. And we now have the archived items per hour, day, month, or year. And it gives us the details of what we selected. So yearly from Friday, January 1st, 1999. And then the year beginning, items archived, and a summary of the different information that is available for a yearly archive rate. So we'll go ahead and go back and look at a different report. And we'll come up here to our operation reports just to go back to that location. And the next report that we're going to look at is going to be the Vault Store usage by archive. So I'll select that. And the Vault Store usage by archive doesn't have any parameters for us to configure, so it just immediately generates and shows the report. And you can see that there are some additional reports that branch off from this one. I could select the Vault Store usage by billing account, or I could look at the Vault Store usage summary. But since we've already selected the one which is the Vault Store usage by archive, we can scroll down here and see that each archive is listed. We can see who the billing account is and information about that particular archive as far as the different items that are available. So let's go ahead and scroll down to let you see all the different archives that we have in our environment. And so now we get that report, and it tells you when the report was generated. So now the next thing we want to do is we'll go ahead and scroll back up to the top here again. As you do have the option of being able to send these reports out. We talked about this in the lesson. You can set up a subscription so that periodically, once a week, once a month, however often you want to send these reports out, you could actually email them out to different users. Or if you just wanted to print it out in a different format, you can do that because you can export these different reports. So we'll go ahead and select the option to export. And then we got different formats that we can export in. We can export in XML, CSV, PDF, HTML, Excel, TIFF, or Word. So for our example, we'll just select PDF. And you can see that it generates the web interface and is generating the report in a PDF format. And then once it's completed, the actual report itself, you can see that basically we got the same structure, but now it's in a PDF format that I could distribute or print or whatever I needed to do with that particular report. So I'll go ahead and close the exported PDF file, and we're done reviewing the report, so I'll go ahead and close Internet Explorer. And that brings us to the end of this demonstration.